What's happening, man? Thank you guys for tuning in. I've got Mr. Matt Durbin tuning in, taking the place of Mr. Kinder today. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man? How we doing?
Doing good, man. I appreciate you jumping in. You know, Jay and Al and quite a few folks are down in Florida at Coach Burt's for a little person of interest, and then staying into the weekend with living with the honey badger. So that'll be good.
Should be a good week. Yeah,
be a real good week. I'm glad they're there. So we had to call in the closer out of the bullpen to step in for.
Give me the lefty.
Bring him in. Let's go. Yeah, man. Cool. Well, like I said, brother, I appreciate you jumping in and hanging out. And, you know, this is, a conversation Kinder and I get to have every couple of weeks. And, man, we talk anything and everything real estate related. So I'm super excited to have you on and let's get into the trenches, kind of what y'all are seeing and kind of what's going on, you know, everything real estate related. And, Matt has a really good sized team, him and DJ there in Pittsburgh. And so, being able to have that perspective of boots on the ground, kind of what's happening, what's going on in the trenches. So looking forward to, kind of what comes up from today. And hey, if you guys are tuning in, you have any questions, throw them in the comments and we'll unpack it for you. But Matt, give a kind of a state of real estate from your perspective, what you guys are seeing in the trenches there in your market.
Yeah, I mean, much like everywhere else, I think we're super low inventory still. I was looking at the numbers the other day. I think we're down 53% inventory from February 2020 to February 2022. So right pre-COVID, what the inventory levels were versus now, because I think that's the only true way to kind of compare the two. I think February was the last real, March a little bit, I guess, was the last true month that we had selling real estate here. Like we got shut down right at the end of March in Pennsylvania. So comparing a 2-year, I think is the best way to really look at it because, post-COVID, everything's been crazy since then. So we're down a good bit, obviously, but the one thing that I look at as well is the transaction volume isn't really down though.
That was about to be my next question. What's going on the?
We say there's no inventory and there's no, and there's no activity, but there is. The same amount of homes are getting sold every day. They're just selling faster. So for me, that says we got to be on the listing end, or we got to be super competitive on the buy side, because somebody's selling all those homes. It might as well be us, Yeah,
100%. So for you guys, you look at kind of foundational pillars to build your business on. For us, it was always our guaranteed sale program, whatever lead gen platform we were on at the time, and our Raving Fan Club, which was focused on our database and past clients. Those were our 3 foundational pillars, and everything we did was built on that business. You guys have had a really strong outbound prospecting arm of your business. How is that working, right now, for there in your market?
It's still working with FSBOs. Expireds, not so much. We've had a little bit of success with older expireds, but there's just a lot more dials involved. Now, for sell by owners, It used to be the for sale by owner game used to be you could, you wanted to make that initial contact. You wanted to build some rapport, continue to follow up. You could win for sale by owners just on a relationship game where you're the only one standing after a couple of weeks. Now you've got to get the appointment. You've got to get out there as soon as possible, show them value, try to get the listing locked up before they get an offer. Like it's still working. We're listing for sale by owners weekly, and we've got a couple of guys on the team and a couple of guys in our group that are going heavy for sale by owners, and we're listing properties and we're selling them. But it's a speed game now.
So what are for sale by owners thinking? Are they thinking any different? Right. Typically it's, they're trying to save as much money, but
right.
What problem are we exposing to where we have the solution to help, for them to, cool, let's run with it. So like, what are they thinking? And then what are we exposing?
Well, I think they're all thinking what they have always thought. And in a market like this, they are of the belief that they don't really need us. And in a lot of cases they don't.
True.
Right. So, I think if you took all of the for sale by owners on the market, unless they're extremely overpriced, they're going to sell. It's just how much money are you leaving on the table? So, I mean, that's the pitch now is what if we could show you a way where we're gonna spend all of our marketing dollars, all of our time. You could still pay us a commission and we're still going to net you the same or more. Is that something that you'd be interested in looking at? Right? How do you know? We just talked to a for sale by owner this week who was like a title rep that we knew. It was in a state, didn't know where to priced it like $20,000-$30,000 under value. And it's like, well, how do you know you're not leaving money on the table? So if you're getting out there fast enough and quick enough and you're creating enough value, providing enough value for them, they'll list it with you. It's just a net number, and in order to get them to feel confident in it, you got to take them through the process. I mean, we still use the NAEA. Your home sold for up to 18% more money, and for them, a lot of cases they think they're saving 6%. They're not. Everybody's got a buyer's agent in this market. Everybody's sent 10 offers in at this point in time and has a buyer agency agreement signed. So you're not saving a buyer agency side. So even if you've got to take it on a list side at 5%, what do you only got to make up 2.5%. If you can't provide enough value to make up 2.5%, then you're probably not doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it right there. Still creating some doubt that they're potentially leaving money on the table, because that's one of the concerns that sellers have always had, will always have. Am I leaving money on the table? Because at the end of the day, sellers want, how much money can you put in my pocket? At the end of the day, that's what they want. And so if you're able to create some doubt around that, and I've heard Deej kind of talk about it, is like, what do you have to lose, man? Let's put it on a 7-day listing. Let us proactively manage the 115 plus variables in the home selling side of the thing and see if we can get you, put the most amount of money into your pocket. If we're not able to do that, then you can fire us. Right. I wouldn't say fire us, but
No, we do. I mean, we do a 1-day listing on there.
There you go.
Like, you just got to get it. Listen, if you're not happy, fire us. Chances are we're not happy too. Let us, we'll take all the risk. We'll spend all the money marketing. We'll spend all of our time. We'll hold on. You won't have to do anything. You just sit back, and if you're not happy with the offer that you're getting, then go back and do it on your own.
Go back and do it yourself. So the other thing, I'm just curious of this, man. Why I've seen properties come off and go back on at a higher price. Like, what is that? Just dumbass real estate agents, the AFAs out there not knowing what the hell they're doing, and then they price it, and then something happens, and then a deal falls apart or an offer doesn't come through, and then they reposition it a little bit higher. Like, I don't understand that thinking.
Yeah, you mean like it expired, or
just I've seen some agents, right? I'm still plugged in. When we were doing home search and selling our house and moving up to the city, I'm still plugged in, right? So I'm getting all the updates, and I'll see things, right? Price adjustment, price change, and I'll look at it, and it'll be 10,000 higher than what it was. And I'm like, what's the thinking there? Like, I've been wanting to ask. I haven't asked
I
anybody.
think it's a combination of AFAs and a seller who thinks that they were right the first time and should have priced it higher to start with, and they're going to leave money on the table by having it priced correctly. I mean, I literally I just talked to a seller the other day, and it's like he's like, we should, he wasn't getting offers at 340, but thinks what he should do is go back to 350. That way, when he gets offers, he's going to negotiate. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. If you're not getting offers at 340, it means you should be at 325. Because if you're not getting offers in this market at 340, then you're overpriced.
How do you overcome that with the seller as an agent?
You got to run them back through the numbers. I mean, a lot of the numbers that they're getting are they're made up, right? They've created well, that house wasn't as nice as ours, and you really got to go back through, and you got to beat the comps in the price per square foot and the adjustments, and if you know more than them, they'll eventually realize it. And if not, I mean, we'll still take an overpriced listing in this market.
Sure.
You have to.
You have to.
Why would you not?
Yep.
But you got to set the proper expectations up front. Listen, here's why you're not. If you want to take a shot at this price, I'm okay with that. But in a week from now, if it's not moving, remember we had this conversation, because you're going to come back and you're going to be mad at me.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you now, like, we need to be at this price. If you want to take a shot at that, that's okay. But we're going to come back and have this conversation again a week later. Because if you get through a weekend and you've got showings and you're not getting anything in this market, you're overpriced. I mean, it's just a fact.
Yeah. What is your, there's two things that are on my mind as you were kind of talking through there. One, this is why it's so important to have a process and make it about the process and not make it about you. There's too many agents that make it about them. They play the hero.
Yep.
And fall on your sword, because that's what's going to happen.
We used to do this. Yeah. I used to do this, and DJ always did this when we first brought him in, when we first got him in selling real estate, is we would sell the marketing plan. Right. We have an enhanced marketing plan. We had, we do this. We run Facebook ads. We get this many views. So guess what happens after a week and a half when the house doesn't sell? Our marketing plan didn't work. Right. It's not the market that controlled whether or not the buyers are coming in. Yeah. Now we've gotten away from that. You start selling your marketing plan and the house doesn't sell, your marketing plan sucks. It's not the fact that the house is overpriced. Like, now they have something to blame.
I think that opens up too, Matt, is that now you've got somebody that has more time on their hands, and they just start nitpicking and they go through everything. And then you're getting screenshots, you're getting all kinds of shit. Hey, this isn't right. Hey, this is off. So what adjustments did you guys have to make with that?
We have a proven repeatable system. We went to that because, hey, if in a market like this, in a supreme sellers market, we all know what's happening in the market right now.
Yep.
So as a seller, who are you, like, you basically, you could probably list this yourself and it would sell, but are you going to maximize your value? Right. Yep. We have a proven repeatable system to sell your home for up to 18% more money. We know that we're going to check every box. So at the end of the day, if we know we have a proven system, we sold 215 homes last year, we know it works, right? And your house is priced correctly and we check all of the boxes. Our job is to make sure that we're not missing anything that would maximize your value. And if we do all of these things and you agree that we've got the right marketing and you're comfortable with everything that we're doing, and it still hasn't sold, then our only objection is going to be pricing, or what does our buyer pool look like? So at the end of the day, after you go through that whole process, there isn't anything left but price.
Yeah.
Right? Or condition, obviously.
You
But
know,
it's usually a combination of the two. I mean, if the condition's not there, then it's price. Or, if it's priced correctly, then you update the condition, but nobody does that anymore.
right. And here's the thing too, Matt, right? And this is where so many agents, and this goes back to Chris Voss and to his point and never split the difference, is that
Yep.
they have to agree that this is the best process to get their outcome that they're after.
Right.
And it's not about you. The question is, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you believe that this is the best process to help you get XYZ? And XYZ is what their goal is. And that's why in the beginning of that process, you ask the tough questions. You help them get crystal clear on what their true motivation and timing, what it really is. And then that's when you go into your process and of how you're proactively managing the 115 plus variables. And it's up to you guys, of what you want to do to where we can position your home at the top, the middle, or the bottom of the market. And based upon how we position it, we'll determine what type of offers we get. And so that has to be the question. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you believe that this is the best process to help you get XYZ? And then when they go, we do, then you go, I agree. That's it.
Yeah.
Are you ready to move to the next step? And so where a lot of agents, they hear, Matt, you're right. Am I right? Or is this the system that's right for you? And that's what Chris Voss talks about, is that you have to get the sellers to agree that that is the best process for them to achieve their goal. You don't want them saying that you are the best solution, because that's an expectation. Right. And it's going to be failure, right? It goes back to the whole agreements versus expectations concept. And if you don't get them believing in the process and they're believing on you, that's hero. And remember, we're not the hero. They are the hero. We're the guide. And what we're trying to do is help them get from where they are to where they want to be. And too many agents, Matt, I've seen this and I know you have as well. Too many agents want to play hero.
Right.
They want to be the hero. They want to be, look at me, look at my awards. No, you're the guide. And your job is to remember they're the hero and you're just trying to help them get where they want to go. And do they believe that you have the best solution, the best process to help them achieve what they're wanting to achieve? If not, it's going to be a train wreck.
Right.
It's just going to be a train wreck.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and I saw a question that came in here. Do you find that pricing it correctly brings on more traffic and higher offers than starting it too high to start with? This is a conversation that I have, or at least we kind of trained to have with sellers right now. You can't log on to Facebook and look at more than 5 posts without seeing a real estate agent bragging that they got, they sold the house in 5 minutes over asking price. And it's like, so everybody sees that now. So now we're using that against, like, well, how much money did they leave on the table? If you sold the house in 10 minutes and you got, 5 offers over asking price, how much did you actually leave on the teller? How much money are those sellers leaving on the table? I mean, that's the pricing strategy is what we go through with the sellers, because we don't determine the price. We determine what the motivation is. If you need to sell in 5 minutes, then we can price it to sell in 5 minutes. If you need to maximize value and you have time, then maybe we're looking at a different pricing strategy. But we're going to go through actives, we're going to go through solds. A lot of it right now is we're looking at comps. Can we support an appraisal? And I'm looking at actives just as heavy, because what's our competition? So if there's absolutely nothing on the market and we know that, and I'm going back through previous sales or all of the contingents and seeing how many of them are multiple offer in my thing, because all the broker comments have them now. Highest and best, highest and best, highest and best. So if every one of them in the area is selling in 3 days, highest and best offers, we know that there's more than enough buyers out there. So can we price it a little bit more aggressively? And that's what the sellers want. They want to know that you're not just trying to get the home sold in 10 minutes.
Right. Yep.
They want to know that you're trying to get them the absolute best prices, which is what our goal is at the end of the day. So Yeah, sometimes can you push it a little bit too high, and maybe you're pushing the limit a little bit, where you are driving some people away. Yeah, you can do that.
Sure.
But I think there's a lot more people that are probably underpricing things and leaving money on the table at the same point. At the end of the day, your job is to break down the market. Here's what's sold. Here's what's active. You and I together are going to determine what price we want to list it at. Now, if I come in and tell you got to list it at 350 and it doesn't sell at 350, I screwed up. It's my fault. You're going to hate me. If you and I, as the seller and agent, determine, hey, this is the best strategy. I think this is the best strategy. What do you think? I think that's the best strategy, Matt. Now we've determined that was the price. It's not my fault anymore. It's, hey, it didn't move. We now have got to do a price reduction. You know what I mean? So like, it's just a matter of how you get there. Some people come in and say, if you price it at this, it's going to be sold in 10 days and you're going to get multiple offers and you're going to go over asking price. Well, what if you don't? Now you're the one that, you're the one that's to blame.
I think you nailed it though. It really comes down to what their goals are and what they're wanting to do. And your job is to help them come to the best conclusion possible, to put the best strategy in place to accomplish what they're wanting to accomplish. And what you said right there, and that's the take that we've always taken, is that we work with them and provide the data to help them come to their own conclusion of where they need to position the home in the market,
right,
to attract the offer based upon what their desired outcome is. That's you being the guide. If you're the hero, you're trying to tell them where to position it. Right. You need to have them come to their own conclusion, because if it doesn't move, if it doesn't go, then you're like, hey, the market's the bad guy here, not us. Right. Hey, we went off of what the market was telling us, and we missed, or we missed something, or the market's speaking a different language. We need to adjust it. That's always been the philosophy that we've taken. We've leveraged heavy on KCM. We've leveraged heavy on real market reports, and we leveraged heavy with Focus First. And it's just what I love about Focus First. It's a visual pricing guide, because you just plug the numbers from there, and it's in this graph format, and you're just able to show that to the sellers, and they're able to kind of come up with their own conclusion based upon their goal, what they're wanting to accomplish. And, for us, when we sold the house in Texas, we went through, we just followed the process. We did all of the best practices. We managed all of the variables. We did, we depersonalized, we decluttered, professional photography, professional staging. We just textbook, we followed it, but we took the pricing of just slightly below, like 5% below. And I mean, we sold the damn thing. We set the mark in the neighborhood at the time. And it's because we didn't get a ton of offers, but we got enough offers that drove it up to where it was a number that I still to this day can't even fathom that we got that for that house. Right. But we did everything textbook, best practice, based upon what we were trying to achieve. We proactively managed all the variables. Our pricing was just slightly a little bit under kind of where we thought it should be. And then got it in. I mean, we only got like 6 offers, but I mean, shit, all you need is one.
Right.
And, that the one that we did get, holy smokes. So I'm just telling you guys, and it's just, Matt, you're all over it. Don't be the hero, be the guide, lean on the process, listen to what their goals are, get them to acknowledge that you have the best process and to help them achieve their solution, and then help them come to their own conclusion of where they need to position. We never say pricing. We never say price reduction. We just say, hey, we need to put, this is how we're going to position your home in today's market. If we miss the mark, then we need to reposition your home in today's market. So it's just like what somebody had said here. Hey, they're seeing they're seeing the appraisal, then they're taking it off, and then they're repositioning it. I mean, that's a reposition. They're just repositioning the home in today's market. So that's just the language that we've always used. And, it just, it's different. And that's why we try to do everything that's different. 400. Where would you suggest to list the house? Man, and Matt, I love your 2 cents on this. We've always followed kind of this absorption rule. And it was always based upon kind of the balance of the market. So if it was a balanced market, then your pricing is balanced. If it's supply and demand, current situation, less than a month of inventory, we had always used about the 10% rule. And then vice versa. If there was 12 months of inventory, then our pricing was about 10% less. So, if you see a ceiling for an appraised value of 400, I think it depends too, right, Matt? I mean, what's
this goes right back to what we were saying, right? Like what's the goal? Is your goal as a seller to sell this thing today or this weekend because you've got another purchase that's contingent upon it, or you got something going on? Then I'm pricing that $399.9. If you've got all day, this is an investment property or whatever the case may be, like, depending upon your motivation and what the ultimate goal is. And let's say I look at it, an appraised value of 400 is an objective number. I mean, we've had appraisals come in where the same house, somebody appraised we had a house under contract for 415. It appraised at 385. That deal blew up. We relisted it, got it under contract at 420. It appraised at 425. Same house, within 3 months difference. That's an objective number. So in one scenario, you might have an appraiser who is just going out and this is where it comes out to lenders and banks and things like that too. I mean, these banks are gun shy after 2008. So if you're dealing with the bigger banks who are underwriting their own stuff, their underwriters are going to be harder on appraisals, and appraisers are going to come in low more often than not. If you're dealing with mortgage lenders who their job is just to get the most amount of mortgages done in a month, they're not going to beat up the appraisers as much. That's my opinion on this. I don't know that for a fact, but I can tell you from experience that's what's going to happen in a market like this, because they're afraid of 2008. We're seeing prices go crazy. So 400 is an objective number. That you could have 3 appraisers out. One of them could appraise it at 420. One of them could appraise it at 380. One of them could appraise it at 400, depending upon what criteria you've got. So at the end of the day, I'm going to try to get 420. And then if I can leverage that buyer into paying over, appraised value, which we've had is happening a lot more in our market, which is a little bit uncommon for this market. In South Florida, that was the norm.
Sure.
But, or I'm going to just negotiate that out. It doesn't matter. I mean, if you start at $399 or you start at 400 or you start at 450, I mean, at the end of the day, if you start under 4, you're probably going to end up at 410, 415. You start at 425, maybe you end up at 415, 420. Like, I don't know. It just depends, but it's all just what we talked about.
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Seller, like this, here are our 2 options. This is the pros and cons of this. Here's the pros and cons of this option. What do you think makes the most sense? I still think it ends up within a couple of percent either way. We'll never know.
I want to shift gears on you for a second. And, I know we're talking about sellers primarily, but I'd love some feedback on the agent engagement side of things. Challenging market, especially if a lot of your business has been built on buyers or referrals, word of mouth. How are you guys going about keeping the agents engaged, keeping them, on track? It's easy to get um, man, just lose interest when you're getting kicked in the teeth all the time. So how are you guys going about from a culture perspective to keep the team, keep the agents, keep everybody engaged and keep everybody focused?
Honestly, I mean, I think that's the hardest part of this market is helping agents who are primarily working with buyers not get frustrated. Like, I mean, it's very uncommon for me to come in on a Monday and not have people like, I lost 3 offers this weekend. I lost 4. I had 2 deals blow up. Like, that's the hardest part of this process. I mean, it's in a lot of ways, we're trying to get them trained up, and some of them are starting to go do a little bit more with sellers. We're trying to find creative ways to find off market properties. We're trying to sign exclusives and see if we can control the inventory to get to our buyers first. Like, just doing the same thing that we've always done just isn't working in this market. So we're trying to find creative ways to still find success on the buy side, and it's difficult.
Do you mentally? So I had written this down. I was kind of going back through the gap in the gain, and that kind of jumped out to me was negative experiences stay with you until you frame them into lessons. And so are you seeing that, especially with your agents, that they live in this what is it, the Peanuts cartoon with what's the one that has the cloud over his head all the time?
Yeah, I
I
think
can
you're
see
talking.
a lot of agents that get into that type of mentality and mindset. And Seth Godin, the person who fails the most wins. And what Dan Sullivan talks about here in the gap and the gain is that if you have not reframed your gap experiences into lessons and grateful, appreciative for those lessons, you will never move into the gain. So how are you as a leader helping these agents to kind of reframe those experiences instead of, oh yeah, it just sucks, it's just hard, right? That's us as leaders. That's not helping them at all.
Right. No, I mean, I think it comes down to a couple things. Especially when you've got newer agents, a lot of times they let the buyer control the process for too long until eventually the buyer's frustrated and they're frustrated. And once you do that enough times, you've got to take control of this process, and you've got to tell them you got to set proper expectations, and you need to run them through the full process and what they're going to be dealing with on the buy side and how competitive their offers need to be. Otherwise, you're just going to keep getting back in the car every week and driving them around for another offer that they're not going to win because it's not sinking in. So in some cases, you've just got to realize what kind of market you're in, and you've got to start taking back control on the buy side. And that's not telling somebody what they have to pay or their offer. That's taking back control of the process and setting proper expectations for the buyer where they know that you know what you're talking about, and they actually will find success if they start listening to you.
Yeah.
It's getting creative with offers. It's, you just can't just do the same thing you've always done. So if you're not trying new ways, you're not trying new things, not trying new ways to structure offers, you're not, hey, call us if we'll see if we know the agent on the other end. We're not trying, every little thing helps in a market like this. So if you're not trying trying to hit every part of the process that you can to try to give yourself the most success, then you'll just continue to fail on it. And then I think the other thing is really it's finding the realization that you've got to get listings in a market like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never going to change. And I think a lot of people are just finding out the buy side is a tough process. And I mean, too, this is the hardest it's ever been.
The thing too, Matt, is most people, it's the whole thing, right? You would fight somebody for taking, $40 out of your wallet, but you'll let them take 3 or 4 hours of your time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, you don't, until you value your time, nobody else will. And, I share the study that we did back in 2011 in Lawton with a balanced market. And you're like, well, shit, that was a decade ago. That doesn't, it's relevant. It's principle. We put a stopwatch. This is a balanced market, 2011, Lawton, Oklahoma, 6 months of inventory, balanced market. We put a stopwatch. Time from seller lead came in, conversation, set the appointment, qualify the appointment, time spent on the appointment, processing the paperwork, putting it on the market, getting it shown, getting it sold, going under contract. Balanced market. And we did the same thing with the buyer. Buyer lead comes in, conversate, dive deep, set the appointment, show some properties, go through buyer agreement, work through our process, show some properties, negotiate, close the deal. A little over 2 hours working with the seller, a little over 24 hours working with the buyer. In a balanced market. What do you think that time frame is today?
Yeah, 5 times that, if not 10, depending on the buyer, and probably a little bit less on the seller end.
So until you value your time, nobody else will. It's return. We talk about return on investment, but one of the greatest returns is return on our time.
Yep.
You have a choice. In Matt, what is it? They're just scared, right? They just don't know what to do.
Right.
Because they don't have any confidence on the listing side. And this is why new agents listen to this. Get on a proven team that is proven to get results with great leadership, that you align with their core values, that has a great culture. Because there's too many things to juggle. You need to be on a team and you need to learn the skills that's going to help you in this business. Somebody like Matt and DJ, who provide world-class coaching, world-class training, world-class support to free you up to focus on what it is that you want to do. And the reason I say world-class with Matt and DJ, not because, they're incredible leaders, but I look at the agents that they've developed, right? To me, the true sign of a great leader is the number of leaders that they've created. I look at their organization, holy shit, like they're churning out leaders. So that goes back to the culture that they've created. Find a team that's cultivating leaders. And Matt, I want to run through the 4 C's. This is from Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. And the reason that I think most agents are scared to get on the listing side, because it's easy to work with the buyer, right? Work with the buyer, all you gotta do is make a friend. If you make a friend, then you can work with the buyer. But you got to know your shit to work with sellers. You got to know your process. You got to know right things, right order. You can't skip any steps, because skipping steps only presents the illusion of speed. And so when you have to gain confidence just doesn't come. And this is my favorite breakdown of confidence comes from Tim Grover. And he said, Matt, you're a huge MJ fan. Do you think MJ was confident or he was arrogant?
Confident.
There is only one difference between confident and arrogance, and that is winning. MJ won. Kobe won. Some people, oh man, they're just arrogant. No, they're not. They're confident because they win. They get results. So to get confidence, it has to start with commitment. So you have to make a commitment to go all in on the listing side. And then once you make that commitment, man, you got to have some courage to stay in the fight.
Yep.
And when you're in the fight, you have to develop the capabilities to do what you need to do on the listing side. That's why we developed CHSA, Certified Home Selling Advisor, for the listing side, because it's a proven process that's not me monster dependent. It's not a hero process. You're the guide that's facilitating on this process. That's a capability. You're developing a skill. And then once you develop those skills, you start collecting wins. And this goes back to the gap and the gain concept. How do you stay in the game? You focus on your wins. And I promise you guys are winning every day. Showing up, making the phone calls, getting rejected, making an offer, getting no's. You're doing the activities. And that's how you build confidence. And so I'm with you, brother. I think that's the number one thing as agents, especially new agents, get into a culture that's going to give you the support, the coaching, the accountability to help you develop the capabilities so you can, do in this business that gives you the greatest return on time. And that's working with sellers. There is nothing in this business that has a greater return on time than working with sellers.
Right. Right. And I think when it comes down to that too, like really, as far as like, a newer agent, it's just having the courage, for us at least, the way that like we can teach the capabilities, we can create the confidence. Like this is when like I use DJ for example, but when he first came here, it's like he didn't know the market at all. He didn't know anything. But if I told him a price that we needed to get it at, he was confident that he just had to go out there and get the listing signed at that price, and I knew it would sell it, within a reasonable time frame, right? Yeah. So we created the confidence. He trained the CHSA to provide the capabilities. He just needed the courage and the commitment. So all he needed to do was just suck it up, pick up the phone, and just be committed to it. And we knew we were going to win. And that's the same thing with any agent, with any new agent. We just had a guy, Kenny, who came on. He's 22, just came into our group, and he was struggling a little bit, and he wanted to learn for sell by owners. So he came in, sat with DJ, and then I talked to him a couple of days later. And he just hadn't picked up the phone. Right? I'm like, listen, it's just another person on the other line. Like we're building them into this. It's this huge deal. I said, don't even ask for an appointment. Just start picking up the phone and call them and ask them about their house. Ask questions. 3 days later, he texted me. I set 2 listing appointments this week. But it was just building up enough courage to pick up the phone. So I'm like, so in order to get the courage, just take the pressure out of trying to get an appointment and just call sellers. You're a real estate agent calling a seller about real estate. Just pick up the phone and call them and ask them about their home, and just start asking questions and just get comfortable having the conversations. Well, he just jumped right to appointment and set a couple appointments, got like 3 FSBOs his first week and a half trying it. But it was the initial. I think what happens is we build up a seller call or a FSBO call into there's all these things I got to do. It's not a lot of times, we win a lot of times because we're skilled, but a lot of times too, it's just we're the only one that got a hold of the seller. We're the only ones calling.
Yeah. You told me a couple crazy stories from like top agents in the market that like will bring offers, and they're talking, they end up having a conversation or something with the seller, and they're like, let me guess, was it DJ that called?
Yeah, that just happened a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, that was Gina.
Yeah. Because nobody else is calling. It's crazy. It really is. Matt, so what, besides for sell by owners, what other seller lead opportunities are you guys seeing that we're having some success with?
I think, going a little bit deeper with Sphere, we're starting to get, our market every January, February, it's just slow. And now already this month, people are coming back out of the woodwork. Sphere, the biggest problem that we continue to have is we've got a list of sellers this big, but they still have to buy. Yeah. And so now we're starting to create a little bit of scenarios where, hey, can we get this thing listed and get a 3-month lease back? Can we do exclusives on this so that we can control the time frames? Like, we're just trying to be more creative with the ways that we can help sellers have the confidence that the home's sold, but have enough time to find it on the buy side without having to do contingencies. Or can we get a line of credit out on the current home so they don't have to go contingent on the purchase? We know, it's just trying to structure these deals to create a little bit of confidence with the seller so that they know that they're not going to be home. I mean, that's the hardest part of this whole market is, first time home buyers, they're getting beat out by, cash offers or more competitive bids. Move up buyers, what they're finding on the buy side is almost the equivalent of what they're selling now because of the price increases. And downsizes, it's the same thing. They can't find anything on the way out. So trying to find creative ways to structure deals is more important than ever.
Yeah. Well, that's how we solve problems.
Right.
And, you ask questions and then you provide solutions, you solve problems. And for sellers, that's the number one thing that we commonly hear all across the country. Hey man, I would love to sell, but where am I going to go? Well,
right.
You better have a solution. You better have creative solutions to solve that problem. If not, then you're not going to have an exchange. You don't have any value. Right. If you can't solve problems, then you don't have value. And money changes hands when value is in place, right? When you solve problems, that's when money changes hands. If you can't solve problems, then you're not going to be able to have an exchange of value. And I think that's why helping sellers solves a bigger problem. Trying to help buyers, that's a problem, but that's also like a lack of inventory, a lack of product. That might not be a problem worth solving. And so you got to look at, okay, what problems do I want to solve? And that's, Matt, you and I talk about this all the time too, right? Even trying to bring agents on board, I look at, well, what type of agent problems do you want to solve? Me, I want to work with people that are earning 6 that want to go to 7 figures and get out of production. Those are the problems I like to solve for agents. And, some people are like, well, I'm going to get them. I'm going to put them through school. I'm going to bring them on. I'm going to bring on new agents. Okay. And I'm like, okay, well, cool. Then are you prepared to solve those problems? Do you know what their problems are going to be? And do you have the infrastructure and support to be able to solve those problems? And a lot of people don't think through it that way. And that's where they get frustrated and, they end up, changing direction or doing something different. But you got to be thinking about that, right? What are their problems? And then what are all of your solutions to help them solve that problem?
Right. Right.
Stuff.
I mean, and that's why we get paid the big bucks, right? We got to make. Yeah. I mean, the people who are solving problems and are creating solutions and getting and creatively structuring deals are the ones that are getting paid right now. The ones that drive around all day and let the buyer determine what their offer is going to be and just send it in and expect to get a congratulations, we accepted your offer email back are going to be disappointed. Like you've got to be on the phone. You've got to finish the deal and you've got to work every end of it in order to win in this market. Otherwise, just mailing it in isn't going to work.
Nope. It is not. It is not. Well, brother, I appreciate you you jumping in, hanging out, and adding a ton of value as always. And I like I said, greatly appreciate it. If you guys tuning in, make sure you give Matt lots of love. If you have any questions, want to connect, Matt, what's the best way to connect with you?
Insta, Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
Either or.
Cool. You guys tuning in.
Durbin live on Insta.
Yeah. Reach out to Matt. It's in Pittsburgh. They're rocking it. And really, like I said, appreciate you jumping in and
got it, man.
Hopefully we'll get to do it again in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks,
man. Awesome. We'll see you guys.